Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. Tony, the oldest llama in the world, just turned 27.
I'm Tony Kornheiser, and honestly, I have underpants older than that.
Look, you can believe this if you want. How does anybody know how old the damn llama is? And how do you know on another continent whether those llama are older than your llama? This is fraudulent, complete fraud.
Yeah, I was going to say, I had no idea how old a llama lived. I mean, I just have no idea. If you would have told me 100 years, like a parrot, I would have said, okay.
How do you know there's not one who's 31? How do you know?
No, maybe there is. Smoking and drinking in the middle of the night. What do we know? Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Max Scherzer is skeptical, Kirk Cousins is a backup, and Tim Legler is joining us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with Luka Doncic getting a triple-double last night, 19 points, but only on 6 of 17 shooting, 15 rebounds, 12 assists, as his new team, the Lakers, beat his old team, the Mavericks, in Los Angeles. Afterwards, Doncic said, quote, "I'm just glad it's over, honestly." Wilbon, what aspect of last night's game stands out to you?
All right, Tony, I know you're going to think I'm being a contrarian, and I'm not trying to be that, because I turned in, like everybody else, to see LeBron and Luka. I did. And I wasn't disappointed on any level. But what stands out to me as somebody who watches way too much basketball in his life, every year, forever, was the Dallas Mavericks and Kyrie Irving and how they're holding that together, hopefully until they get Anthony Davis back and other people, but primarily Anthony Davis. And so I don't know if they can do that because Davis, there was one headline down in Dallas that said, Anthony Davis is 2 weeks away from being 2 weeks away. And you don't know how that is with the situation. But I'm impressed with that. I'm impressed with what Jason Kidd has done there. I know the home fans cheer them wildly in the building, but there's been a malaise about town throughout North Texas after trading Luka. And those guys have had to find their own motivation. And I'm just very impressed with the Mavericks and trying to hold on and claw until they get these guys back. And so, Luka and LeBron, they're great and they'll be better. But I was impressed with the Mavericks last night.
Yeah, I'll tell you what stood out to me. I didn't watch the game live because the 10:15 start is way too late for me. When I looked at it this morning, I saw that the Dallas GM, Nico Harrison, was sitting in the stands watching the game.
He was.
And in the middle of the first quarter, Laker fans started an impromptu cheer. Thank you, Nico. Thank you, Nico. So he can remember that when he gets fired for making this insane trade. He can at least feel comforted that some group of fans is happy with this trade. Mike, the Lakers are 15-4 in their last 19 games. And what I'm going to say here does not apply strictly to Luka, because Luka's games, they're 3-2 in Luka's games. So it's not just about him. They were a terrible defensive team last year. They had a rating of 115.3, which was 16 out of 30th. In these last 20 games, Mike, their rating is 110.4. So it's number one. It's the best defensive ranking in the league. They just held a team to under 100 points. They're better. And I'm thinking, Mike, that some of the credit's got to go to J.J. Redick.
Absolutely.
Because they're transformed,
Tony,
it appears.
two things. Credit to J.J. Redick, but also credit to LeBron. This whole thing seems to have energized him. There have been some possessions where LeBron looked like he did on defense 5, 7, 10, 12, 15 years ago, where key plays, and I know anybody 40 has got to regulate a little bit. LeBron's got to pick some spots. Even as great as he is, he got to pick his spots. But he's been picking them brilliantly, defensively. And of course, everything on that team takes its cue, not from Luka yet, from LeBron. They have been great defensively. They're impressive, period. 1 year after the Falcons signed Kirk Cousins to $100 million in guarantees, his future with the franchise feels vague. Yesterday at the Combine, head coach Raheem Morris and GM Terry Fontenot both said the Falcons were unaware Cousins had throwing arm injury down the stretch, which Cousins recently announced. Right now, the team plans to go with Michael Penix as a starter, Cousins as the backup. How does this situation sound to you, Tom?
It sounds impossible. It sounds untenable. It sounds like there's mutual distrust. Kirk Cousins is saying, I got hurt, and the Falcons are saying, we didn't know he got hurt. How is that possible? He didn't tell them. He didn't go in for therapy. He hid his injury. Or are they saying something to intimate that he's lying about his injury? Because if that's what they're intimating, then they don't want him on the field and they don't even want him in the locker room. And if he feels that they are saying something that is not true, he's not going to want to play for them. This is a classic cover your behind situation. And you know what's going to happen, Mike? They're all in for Penix now. And all they got to worry about is money. How much money do they owe him that they have to pay him? And how much dead money on a cap hit are they going to get? They will try to trade him. Nobody will go for the trade. So they'll pick out the one day in the calendar that is least onerous on the cap hit, and they'll release him that day.
Tony, I'm not going to disagree with any of that, but nobody held a gun to anybody's head in Atlanta's executive offices and told the Falcons to give up $100 million guaranteed money to a quarterback coming off a real injury. What? So, cover your blank is exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
But this is they did this. It's not like they inherited the team. Like they just sort of showed. They knew he was coming aboard. They knew what you like this. They knew what was happening. So when they drafted Penix, the whole thing just seemed weird. It seemed weird. You're going to spend $100 million in guarantees, and you're going to spend a pretty high pick, whatever it was, in the top 10 where Penix went, and use it on a quarterback. The whole thing was just bizarre. And this continues. This is a new chapter, and another calendar year as we flip the page in bizarre.
Yeah, it's completely untenable. Let's move to my favorite Warrior guard, Max Scherzer, who made his debut for the Blue Jays yesterday, throwing 2 innings, 34 pitches, 20 strikes, 4 strikeouts. Scherzer was on the wrong side of 2 pitch challenges, though, and talked about the robocall experiment, saying, quote, "I'm a little skeptical on this. I think Major League umpires are really good. We know there are going to be strikes changed to balls and balls changed to strikes. We're going to basically be even. Are we actually going to improve the game? I don't think so. We're humans. Can we just be judged by humans?" Unquote. Wilbon, does Scherzer make a compelling argument?
Not really. I get it, and I might even agree with him. Compelling, to me, is one of those Perry Mason arguments where you just beat down Hamilton Berger and you say, okay, sit down, because this argument wins the day. I don't know that we're there, Tony. I think this is muddied now. By the way, Mark Maskey of the Washington Post, among others, reporting that the NFL is going to go to an automated first down. So the chain gang might be out there, but on first downs, they're going to go to automation. So this is coming, and I don't think that Max Scherzer, and you know I like Scherzer nearly as much as you do, maybe not as completely, because my favorite Warrior god right now is Jimmy Butler. So I don't know that this argument is going to sway anything. You know what I mean? That would be compelling. It's going to sway nothing, Tone. The whole world is going that direction.
Yeah, Max Scherzer's 40 years old. He spent the last 18 years of his life having balls and strikes called by human beings. Okay, what he's really doing, and he's very comfortable with that, he's trying to get a human out there so that when he hits his spot with a pitch and it's a little off, the ump is going to say strike because he's seen what Scherzer can do. He doesn't want change. Old people don't want change. I don't want any change.
Agree.
He didn't like the pitch clock. Scherzer and Verlander and Kershaw, they don't want anything new
sort of with
because
them.
the old stuff is what's getting them into Cooperstown. I'm fine with robocalls. I'm fine with that. And because I think that fans will like it. I think they'll be right more often than they're wrong, and there's only 2 a game. Scherzer will adjust to it, Mike. It's not aimed at his generation. It's sort of like cable and streaming. It's different generations. Let's take a break. Coming up, what is J.J. Redick doing with these Lakers? We're going to ask Tim Legler.
We'll also ask him whether he expects the Warriors' recent success with Jimmy Buckets to continue. Plus, the strike zone moves. Like Eddie Goodell does not have the same strike zone as Dave Kingman. So the strike zone moves.
Because it's a two-dimensional. No, it's a two-dimensional thing. It's not 3, and that's a legitimate argument against it. But it's Let's start with this, Tim. The Lakers have won 15 out of 19. Wilbon and I spent a lot of time talking about Luka and LeBron. Can you tell us what you specifically noticed about the way J.J. Redick is coaching these people on this team?
I think one of the things that's been most impressive for me about JJ is that he's got a veteran team. He's a first-time head coach. He's a young head coach, and he coaches them hard. And he has an edge to him and an intensity about him on the sideline, in the huddles, that you really don't see much of in this league. It's really been refreshing, and that's what JJ believes in, and he knows that the way you have to clean up certain things is to pay attention to detail, make guys accountable, and challenge them to clean it up, because he is seeing things that other people are not. I think he has a great gift to see all 10 players at the same time, which gives him an ability to know exactly what to clean up in the moment, what detail needs to be paid attention to. He's got a great staff too, which helps him with that. But JJ's ability to see it and then coach them hard to do it is impressive, because I think a lot of guys in his position may be too deferential to the players. He is not.
We could talk about the Lakers on and on and on, but we will skip across to the other side of the country, Tim, and deal with the Knicks, essentially, who play Philly tonight. They should be fine because the Knicks beat up on all the bad teams, and their defense is uncharacteristically awful, particularly for any team coached by Tibbs. Legs, what are you seeing, and how is this possible?
Yeah, and I was sitting there Sunday calling that game against Boston, and, at that point, they had lost their last 6 against the top 3 teams. We were making a lot of it. The margin of victory was not close. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe today's the line in the sand, right? Enough is enough moment for the Knicks. Like, we're going to dig in here and fight these guys. And they were down 20 in the first quarter. Yeah. So I don't know necessarily that line was drawn very clearly in the sand. Here's the root of it. I think for me, it's Karl Anthony Towns defending at the 5 is a lot different look for him. And it's a lot different look from what they've had in the past with Mitchell Robinson, Isaiah Hartenstein. They just do a much better job at the point of attack. They have quicker feet. They can show a little bit further out on the floor, which takes away like the initial shot from the guard coming off. Karl Anthony Towns, they must always put him in drop coverage because he struggles with that. If he's out too far, the corner will get turned on him, and now your defense is completely compromised. He's better defending at the 4 when you could put him more down toward the baseline against a different guy down there, a secondary screener maybe of the ball, not the primary action. Most 5s in this league are setting the first ball screen, and that is a challenge for him. And I think that, to me, it's oversimplifying it. Obviously, there's more that goes into it, but I think that's a big part of it. He's being attacked and hunted on that end, and they're getting really good action out of that, and they don't get as much with Hartenstein. Hey, when Mitchell Robinson comes back, maybe some lineups with he and Towns could be something they're going to explore to make them better on that end. But there's no doubt they have come up woefully small against those top 3 teams, and it's exposed them. The offense is good enough to win a lot of games in this league, but against those teams, you've got to be buttoned up defensively a lot better than that.
And they don't have much time to solve it either. Let's talk about a team we haven't talked about, Legs, in, I don't know, Tony and I, in 5 years maybe, and that would be the Detroit Pistons, who have now won 7 straight, host the Celtics, who've won 6 straight. All right, I mean, I know we're in the bell lap of the season, but if the Pistons were to somehow beat the Celtics tonight, does it mean more to you? Are you paying more attention to them? Can they have a win in this regular season that makes you stand up and go, wow?
Well, all right, first, I've been paying hard attention to them all year since I did their first preseason game against Milwaukee. And I said that night, I did a game with Mark Jones, and I said, this is going to be the most improved team in the NBA. I could feel it. They've got all these young lottery picks on the team, and they went through a horrible situation last year, embarrassing to the point they were leading SportsCenter because we wanted to see if the losing streak was still going. At one point, approaching 30 games. You're talking about going from that to right now an opportunity 2 games back of the 4 spot in the Eastern Conference. An incredible job by J.B. Bickerstaff. The young talent has caught my attention all year, but if they beat the Boston Celtics, everyone is going to now take notice of what they're doing. They're really interesting because they've got so much athleticism and team speed and just these young guys going out there and believing in themselves. But then they've got this star offensive player at the point in Cade Cunningham, who's big, and he moves a little bit slower and more methodical. He's never in a rush. He's always on balance, and he gives them the polish that you need at that spot. And so when they run onto the floor, they know, hey, yeah, we're a bunch of young, hungry guys, but we've also got a guy that could be the best player on the court tonight. And it gives them an incredible amount of confidence. So yes, I especially am going to be in tune to that game tonight to see the fight they put up against the Boston Celtics.
We will get you out of here on this. The Warriors blew out the Hornets last night. I'm sure that was expected. But they've now won 6 out of 7 since they got Jimmy Butler. Can you explain why this is working so well with Jimmy Butler and whether you are confident that it can, in fact, continue?
Yeah, there's something about Jimmy arriving there, and everyone that's talked about this has said pretty much the same thing. There was an instant belief that they didn't have before, and he's got that kind of swagger and toughness. And you know that he's going to be in there at both ends of the floor to win his matchups. And so now they've added this to their team, and it gave them more confidence. But that confidence isn't going to get you over the hump. It has to be tangible on the court as well. And where he has helped there is the fact that he's mainly an isolation player. He's a mid-range isolation player that likes to get to the line, shoot mid-range, tough jump shots. But they've incorporated him without losing the continuity and flow of their offense, which is they're known for because of his passing ability, his IQ, his ability to find the open spot in their offense and know where the ball is supposed to go next. His passing's never been given much credit in his career. He is a really smart basketball player. And they also got the best version of Jimmy, as we know, over the years, which is a highly motivated Jimmy Butler. And you don't know how long that'll last in a certain place maybe, but they have it right now. And it's made a big difference for Golden State. The Lakers obviously look different. So the Western Conference, outside of Oklahoma City, who have set the bar, is very, very interesting right now as they reshuffle the deck and Jimmy Butler's a big part of that in Golden State.
Tim, thank you so much.
Tim,
Wonderful to have you on.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you both. Thanks.
Let's take one last break. Still to come, Amen Thompson gets tossed for clobbering Giannis in the paint.
He could be suspended for that. And would the Rams really want a new starting quarterback? Why?
So Tim Legler was on the podcast with me this morning and, doing 15 minutes. He was great. I mean, really. Happy time, people. Happy 23rd birthday, Dylan Cruz. Cruz was the second overall pick in the 2023 baseball draft out of LSU. The first pick was Cruz's teammate, Paul Skeens. That LSU team won the national championship. Skeens debuted spectacularly last year with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Cruz came up to the Washington Nationals in August, played 31 games in the Bigs. He had modest numbers, batting .218, 3 homers, 8 RBI, 12 runs scored, 12 stolen bases. This season, Cruz figures to be Washington's regular right fielder, with 25-year-old Jacob Young in center and 22-year-old James Wood in left, and this could be the Nats' outfield for a decade.
Or less. People leave, free agent, they get angry, they want to go somewhere else, although it's not like the NBA. But the Nats, I heard somewhere, have the youngest outfield, average 23 plus, 23 point something in the majors going into this opening day. How about that?
And they're all good. They're all good players. Wood has real power. Happy anniversary, Dwayne Wade. On this day 13 years ago, the Miami Heat first ballot Hall of Famer broke Kobe Bryant's nose with a flagrant foul during the All-Star game, the first ever in an All-Star game. We spent a good amount of time last week discussing the lack of intensity in recent All-Star games. This incident is what former players point to as emblematic of a different approach to the game. Before the Heat faced the Lakers just 1 week later, Wade said he called Bryant asking, "Are we good?" Bryant responded, "I love it." In that game in LA, Bryant wore a mask to protect his nose and scored a game-high 33 in a win. Wade had 16.
Things have changed a lot in basketball the last few years, Tony. Dwayne Wade doesn't get nearly the celebration. He doesn't get nearly the praise and the love he ought to. Because when LeBron James needed to win his first championship, who did he go and recruit to be a tag team partner? Dwayne Wade.
Well, he gets it from you. You
Dwayne
love
Wade.
him.
He gets it from me.
Happy trails,
Chicago's
Amen
own.
Thompson.
That's right.
Yeah, the Rockets forward got ejected last night after going flagrant 2 on Giannis in the lane. Thompson came down on Giannis's head and neck in what was pretty clearly not a basketball play. After the game, which Houston won by 3, Giannis was understanding, saying, quote, "At the end of the day, you don't want to have a league that's soft. I feel like he wanted to make it a hard foul, but he grabbed my neck, but there's no hard feelings," unquote. Thompson is having a terrific season for the Rockets, but this is his second ejection of the year. He was suspended 2 games in December for throwing Tyler Hero to the court.
So you can defend him being a tough guy. Think about those old days we just referred to as you'd have to face another tough guy. And we're not talking about just dropping the gloves 9 seconds in. We're talking about you'd have to see somebody like Charles Oakley again and again and again and again. But we're not getting that. We're not getting back to that time. We're not.
But you'd love to go back to that time.
I would. Yes,
you
I
would. I know you would. Let's go to the big finish.
Let's do it.
Jets players gave ownership an F in an anonymous players union survey. Your thoughts?
Good. The Aaron Rodgers move alone merits an F. The New York Daily News reports that Aaron Rodgers wants to play for the Rams. Did you hear what I just said? Does that make sense?
It only makes sense if the Rams trade Matthew Stafford. And that's out there, even though the coach says he wants Stafford back as a quarterback, because Rodgers will come in with Devontae Adams, and we'll see how that works. Lionel Messi scored as Inter Miami bounced Sporting Kansas City for the Champions Cup. Are you impressed?
Yes, he should be able to endorse something. Icy hot, Shaq's already got that. Heating and cooling, somebody's got that. He scores at 0, he scores in the 70s. The GOAT. Alex Ovechkin scored his 30th last night. That's a big deal, isn't it?
He only needs 12 to break Gretzky's record. Every goal is a big deal for him at this point.
Yeah.
Last one, U.S. women's soccer against Japan tonight for the She Believes Cup. Are you intrigued?
It's a real game. Yes, I'm intrigued. This is not like us playing Colombia, having 49,000 consecutive shutouts. No, this is a real game. It's worth watching.
We're out of time. We will try and do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
And I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. You can get the PTI podcast on the ESPN app or Apple Podcasts. And now, you know what's coming. Sports
Again, new glasses. New glasses.